Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, Astro Reiki Rising. I want to first say thank you to those of you who come to my channel and give me likes and go through the points that I post with my videos. I can't imagine it's the most exciting, but it's good information, and as you can tell, this is all new to me. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. So let that be a lesson to you. If there's something that you don't know how to do, but you want to, get whatever information you can and go out and do it. Be enterprising, be adventurous. It'll serve you well down the road. So, I'd like to go back to the charts of Will Smith and Chris Rock. I want to show you the differences in their charts. I know there's so much more underlying conditions that go along between these three people, and I don't think it's unfair to say that Jada apparently, could be wrong, but apparently wears the pants in the family. And old Will responded in kind on the day that he received an Oscar, on the day that there was so much recognition to the black community that it was swiped clean by Will's obsessive behavior. And I'd like to touch on the fact that I read, I don't know how true it is, but his mom stated that she'd never seen her son react the way he did. As parents, we all are inclined to say things like that to protect our children, but in truth, that's not the case. If a child has responded that way once, many times he's done that before. So, Will Smith is a very talented man, as is Chris Rock. But it wasn't Chris Rock who slapped Will Smith, it was the other way around. And even at that, it was a weak slap. In that, Chris Rock barely took a stand back and had held himself in check and didn't retaliate, which says a lot about the man. Whether he's white, brown, black, purple, yellow, doesn't matter. He stood his ground and he held his ground. Such a professional. And looking at his chart, Chris Rock's chart, it looks like he's going to take Will and the Oscars to the bank. If you want, please go to the bottom of my video, and there's a link there, and you can say he shouldn't do that, Chris Rock shouldn't do that, and Will deserve to do what he did, and give me your explanations. Help me get a better understanding as to why these two grown men went after it. Two successfully grown men in the industry, multi-millionaires. And if Chris Rock does decide to go after Will Smith at the billion-dollar level, that's going to wipe out Will's bank account, and it's only going to add to Chris Rock's. And that's going to cause quite the animosity, not only between the celebrities, but between the culture, the black people. Yeah. So, all right. So as I said, we can start with Will Smith's chart. I think I did this briefly before, but I want to go a little more in depth. Will Smith has Gemini rising at the 7th decanate. And that means Mercury rules his chart. Okay? He has the sun in Libra. in his fifth house, house creativity. And Venus rules Libra. And Venus is conjunct his Mercury. Somehow the override bypassed any conception that you're blowing it, man. You're just blowing it. There were no checks and balances, and I can't say that if I'd been in the same place, I would have done the same. But I certainly wouldn't have gone to bat for my wife after that joke. It wasn't a bad joke, I don't think. And Will has had plenty of time to stand up for his woman, Jada, and he didn't do it. There's a song coming out by Jada's lover. I don't recall his name. I don't follow that line of music, but yeah, word is that Will is going to follow through suit, and he has all the tools to get his verdict because it's on tape, it's on video, and the story goes along with it. So it's really unfortunate. Now, as I mentioned earlier in a previous video, Will's moon is conjunct his Neptune, and that can suggest two things. That there's quite a bit of idealism there going towards women. His mom, his wife, his daughter, any of those factors would be involved. However, as a grown man with Mercury conjunct Venus, it surprises me that it didn't kick in and make him state in his mind that I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do this. So there has to be a reason Will feels the need to stand up for his woman after she has derided him and left him emasculated a number of times on the red carpet, on the red table talk. And I watched quite a few of his friends, I use loosely because I don't know how closely they are tied to one another, but these men go on about how Jada Pinkett Smith has really left Will out in the cold with what she talks about her entanglements, how she took in, I can't remember the guy's name, how she took him into their home and nurtured him back to health, and he was spiritually broken, and well, she helped him out, she helped him back, I suppose. But to what end? It was just not good. Now, Will has Saturn retrograde. Now, generally, retrograde Saturn suggests that the father wasn't around. He either had left the home, he had, let's say, gone to the military and left the military, never came home, just didn't want to be home, or when he was home, he just wasn't available to the children. And that's half the nation with Saturn retrograde. That's half the nation. Young boys endure that type of behavior from their fathers, and they never learn from their fathers, and eventually resentment comes to the fore, and they at times think the appropriate thing to do is to use violence to protect your woman, protect your family, and if it's necessary, certainly do what you have to do, but as a young man, poor Will, he was prepared for this. wasn't prepared for this at all. And Will also has what we call in astrology the northern hemisphere, which is the hemisphere below the horizon. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 10 planets he has listed below the horizon. That suggests strongly that there is tremendous unfinished business within the family life, within the home life, within the home that he grew up in. It was very difficult. And the lessons that he learned weren't the appropriate ones because seemingly it was, I think, as Jaden retorted on his TikTok or Instagram, whatever it was, and that's the way we do it. No, that's not the way you do it. You just perpetuate more and more violence among your people. And by the sense that I mean your people, your culture, the people you grow up with. All right. And in Will's chart, Saturn is the handle. Think of his chart being like this, with all the planets in it. And right over here in the 11th house, 12th house, is Saturn, and that is the handle to the planetary position, to the bucket formation. That was what I was looking for, the bucket formation. And if it's at any time during the course of carrying this, if he sets it down, lies it down, everything's going to flood to the 11th and 12th houses. The 11th house has to do with the love you receive, and the 12th house has to do with behind the scenes. And a lot what happened on the night of the Oscars, which was March 27th, 2022, at around 8 o'clock, Will dropped the bucket when he went to go slap Will. And everything came down on Will. His family came down on Will. It all spilled out for everyone to see. It was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. Very unfortunate. And before I leave, with Will's chart, he has a Scorpio moon. Scorpio moons aren't necessarily the kind that are vindictive. They certainly can be. But for one thing, they won't do, and that is forgive. It's hard for them to forgive. So when Will said he's a vessel of love, I think he meant it, but I don't believe he believed it. You can't be a vessel of love after you did what you did to your friend or colleague. Doesn't matter. Man you were working with, the man that so many other people respect. So it was a terrible, terrible event, but I'm just trying to read you out some of the basics of Will's chart to how it expressed itself. All right. Will also has the western half, which is this half of the chart. So think of a circle, bring a line down. That's the east half, that's the west half. The west half suggests strongly that the individual is a giving person, would give the shirt right off of his back. Doesn't seem like Will's that type of a man after his display. But this is why Will has done so well in the movies that he's made. He's the man who's come back to help those in need, and that's what he does. And in true life, I believe this is how he is. And we're all human beings. We make mistakes, and Will made a humongous mistake. But as far as I could see, and as far as I heard, he's accepted his responsibility. And Saturn being the bucket, the handle to the bucket of his chart, I take his word for it. But he still has so much to repair. All right. Any questions? Just kidding. I have the night of the Oscars. I think I went over that, but I want to get to Chris Rock's chart and do the same thing with his that I did with Will's. And I think I failed to mention that Will has Gemini rising. Okay. Your ascendant is how you project yourself to the outside world. Gemini shows two faces, two wills. And I think we saw that on Oscar night. And he had no control over that. None whatsoever. All right, let's go with Will's rising sign. Will has Aries, ruling the first house. Now, those of you who are familiar with astrology might say, well, that's Mars. Mars is the ruler, but actually 19 degrees, 33 minutes is the second decanate for his chart. It's a fire sign. Okay. And the second fire sign for that decanate would be Leo. And Leo is ruled by the sun. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Now, with that having been said, the sun is magnanimous. The sun is all-encompassing. The sun wants to gather in all of those around and take them as his friends or her friends, and wants to be accepted for who he is. All right. And the sun and Mars and Aries all being part of his first house, they all relate. The sun falls into Chris Rock's 11th house. Extremely strong placement for him. And it makes for a magnanimous man, for a man who is willing to forgive failures. However, he has Mars in control of his rising sign. It's right there. Mars rules Aries. And Aries does not forget. Aries is the warrior. It's going to take some time for Chris to forgive. I don't know that he'll be able to forget, but he'll forgive. And I hope that he does. I hope that they can become buddies. But it's going to take time. And for those of you taking sides, I suggest you maybe look at what happened astrologically. It seems like people took sides simply because Chris Rock took a slap and didn't react, and Will Smith hauntsied off stage with a smirk on his face that suggests that there's something wrong with the state of his mind. And it could be too much stress, could be a lot of things. But he did not admit that, and it took him a while to tell Chris that he was sorry. in my mind, the apology was not heartfelt, and I know that Chris felt that as well. So Chris has the Aries rising. Mars rules Aries. The sun is in Aquarius in the 11th house. And Chris's moon is in Aries. And let me tell you something more about Aries. They demand to be number one. They demand respect. If they're put down, be careful. They're coming back at you. You may not see it right away, but they're coming back for you. All right? Okay. So, we look at the distribution of the planets in Chris Rock's chart. And let's do the pie again. Do the circle. Draw the line down. And draw the line across. All right. So on this side, the eastern side of Will's chart, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets. 6 or more strongly suggests that this is a person who will be noticed in whatever environment he's in. He's not the wallflower. He's not the type of person to back away from anything, regardless of size. And so, but he's going to keep on doing what he feels he needs to do. Excuse me. An interesting point is that unlike Will, Chris has Saturn almost in the same house. Chris Rock's Saturn is in the 11th house, where Will's is in the 12th house. But Chris's Saturn has no connection to the other planets. And this is what we call peregrine. And peregrine planets, when they're unaspected, tend to make a big deal in being noticed. You get where I'm going here? He really wasn't noticed. It was all about Will. It was all about what Chris said, what Jada felt, and what Will did. It did not, I don't recall anyone asking, well, how's Chris? Where's Chris? And then to top it off, Will was not asked to leave. I mean, that's the information I gathered. I wasn't there. I would have voluntarily left. I mean, I know he won an Oscar, but it did not look good on Will for him to stay and then to party and to jiggy it at the party. That rubbed Chris's face in the incident just as hard as anything. But not having having a peregrine planet, especially Saturn. Saturn's about responsibility. It's about structure. It's there not in connection with any of the planets, so it reverts to itself. And so he did nothing. He said nothing. He just went along and did what he felt he had to do professionally. And he did it well. And he's been commended by many, many, many of the entertainers. But he still was ridiculed, criticized, and damned that he didn't respond to Will Smith's assault on him. And that's what it was. It was an assault. These men are in their early 50s, too old to go at it. But the next recourse is lawyers and money. Hopefully not the guns. But that is what's happened. Okay. Now, another interesting thing is the planet Pluto in Chris's chart is conjunct Uranus. This is a volatile combination. It is in the sixth house, the workplace, and nothing came of it. Nothing came of it. This showed tremendous will and strength on Chris Rock's part in not going after Will Smith, because Will Smith did do one of the most insulting things to Chris Rock, and that was to turn your back on the man, showing him that you're not afraid of him and nothing's going to happen. And nothing did happen. So that sullies his career even more. All right, so I suspect that there will be a lawsuit, and I think that Chris Rock is going to go for multi-million dollars, and maybe that's how we'll learn. Well, maybe not. Well, maybe Chris won't even go that far. He just wants the recognition he deserved for people who slandered him, of having not hit back and having left the party, but Will stayed. It's just an ugly scene. It's just an ugly scene. It would be great to have both Chris and Will next to me, and I could ask them the questions that I see in my chart here, and to have them answer it honestly. I think that would be quite consequential, but I don't have that, and so I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you'd like me to go, maybe not, but if you'd like me to go further into Will's chart, Chris's chart, Jada's chart, Jaden's chart, Willow's chart, yeah, be happy to do it for you. It's a mess. It's a doggone mess, and it's unfortunate. But anyway, thank you for coming to my channel. I hope you made it to the end. I know a bit boring, especially if you're not an astrologer, but I do appreciate you at least checking in. All right? Good luck. Hope to see you next time, and be well. Thank you.